Well, I am here with Will Day, who released a fantastic album called Countryfied last year, and we will talk about Countryfied. But your latest single is Bros, Will, which is from that album, and you've just been in Tamworth, and no doubt you're about to head somewhere else. So hello, and good to talk to you while you're at home.
Hey Sophie, yeah, I'm home. Hope you're well. We've chatted on the phone before, but
Yes.
First time seeing you in person. So thanks for having me again. I was in Tamworth. I was in Tamworth briefly. I got unwell.
Oh no!
I had to come home early. So to be honest, it was pretty disappointing. Pretty heartbreaking with the album to promote. But hey, that's life. That's the world we live in. And I'm starting to feel a bit better. So yes, I am on the road again soon, down to South Australia this week. So
well, the good thing is the next festival is not a year away. So
that's right. I don't have to wait, and that's what everyone was saying. It's quite close if you think about it,
Yeah.
Anyway, it looked like when I was there, it was good. I was only there for one night, but I think it was a really positive thing for our industry for that to go ahead and actually happen. Although how disappointing it was for me, it was so good to see. So I think the countdown is on now, and I think January is going to be huge. So bring it on.
I agree. Now, as I said, the album is called Countryfied. So, Will Day, I am wondering, when did you get countryfied?
It's a great question. Truly countryfied, I'm going to say in my late teens. So, sort of, if I think back to the car trips, because I grew up in a small town in Western Queensland, the car trip to the beach for holidays and stuff. My parents are putting there's a lot of folky stuff like James Taylor, which kind of is on country, the Eagles, Cat Stevens, that kind of thing. And then it was in my late teens, I discovered American country, Garth and Alan Jackson and Keith. And that was I sort of haven't looked back since then, I suppose. I went through my rock stage in my teens as well. But I just it kind of just developed more and more into a love for country music when I started to write as well. Mm-hmm. So I would say late teens, truly countryfied.
I'm interested when you start to write, is it almost a sense of the songs are just coming out of you the way they come out? Like you're not trying to control the genre or the lyrics. It's just here's the idea. Let's see what happens. And for you, they came out as country.
Definitely. Although I'm still getting over this thing. When I sort of started writing, I was experimenting, like I said, with a lot of rock and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was sort of, I think if in hindsight, I look at country music as a way to really tell an honest story. And that's a lot of my kind of early stuff, which wasn't great, but I was just, flexing the songwriting muscle. And it was really just kind of honesty, I think. And that's what I think why I'm attracted to country music. And songwriting should be honest in no matter what genre, but there's just something about country music, that's even in a rock song, like Bros, for example. I'm telling a story of mateship essentially. So I think that's why I was really drawn to it. And with my songwriting, now the way I write now, it really reflects that.
Yeah, I suppose it's a sense of having permission almost to tell stories in a way that you can't in rock, because I think rock's, the message is a little more straightforward, and sometimes it is a message, not a story. But yeah, in country, certainly you have that leeway to do it.
Well, I think so. And if you listen to country music, and I don't care, as you know, Sophie, the umbrella of country music is huge these days. There's all these sort of dotted subgenres underneath it, and that's why I love it. And I'm somewhere under the umbrella. But the vocal and the story and the lyric is always up front in the mix if you're listening to it, always. Now, I know that's obvious for other genres as well, but not as obvious for country. You always can hear the story and what the lyric is, and that's what it's really about. That's why I feel like songwriting in country music is such a strong industry or kind of big community as well, because we have an opportunity to do it. A song like Dear Dad off Countryfied is as raw I could ever get, and I think we chatted about that a while ago, but that's why I love it. I could put it on the album, mix it in with a whole bunch of other country rock tracks, and I was like, well, that's me, so.
Yeah. And I'm just saying I had a question about Dear Dad, so I'll bring it in now. I was wondering if you had a strong response to that song, because it is a very powerful song. And as you said, it's raw, but it's not raw in a way that other people can't access, if that makes sense. It's not you wrote it in a way that I think other people could find themselves in it too.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I probably didn't realize the way it was going to connect with people when I wrote it with Haley Jensen in Tamworth. Speaking of Tamworth, in 2017, we wrote that. Probably didn't realize the impact it was going to have, on me, and how it was almost therapeutic in my grief, but also a lot of, when I released it last Father's Day, so many people just were like, Will, I love this song. I lost maybe not their dad, someone, because we all know that feeling of it's part of being human. Grief is a common feeling. So there was just that kind of general sense of, oh, I know what it's like to lose someone. And essentially the song is about having one more day with that person. The video clip for that song has just it's really on my Vivo channel. It's just in the last month or so, it's gone bonkers. It's really cool. And I've got all these people, someone's picked it up, that people from all over the world are commenting on it. Even had a guy from Germany say, can you send me the lyrics? So I can't really understand it because I speak German. So the reason I bring that up is because that goes to show that if you can do that as a songwriter, if it connects with 1, 10,000, 50,000 people, whatever, it's like, it's a big win. It's a fulfilling feeling. So, and Haley was a big part of that.
And to go back to that aspect of storytelling within country music, and as I was suggesting, the permission you have to tell a story, I think in telling a story as you have, you give permission to other people to share their stories with people they know, or to feel their own story and reminisce a little bit. So it's that continuity that comes from the relationship between artist and audience.
That's right. And you're giving a piece of yourself, but you're handing it over. You're saying, all right, this is a part of me, but please, as a listener, go, as a fellow music lover, go and take it and do whatever you need to do with it so you get something out of it. And that's music, right? That's contemporary music, well, music in general, but last 56 years was contemporary music. That's the power of it. But it's that, going back to country, it's that there's something about it, here it is, do what you will with it. It's almost like a license for connectivity, emotional connectivity. So it's a special feeling. And when Dear Dad's probably I guess one of those songs where it's quite broad, although it's centered on my dad, it's around grief, and to have those people reach out to me and still reaching out to me, just going, thanks for the song. It's a great feeling. Yeah.
And speaking of connections, your new single Bros you have connections with Cole Findlay and Troy Kemp on this song, in that they perform on it. And I understand how Cole got on there because he co-wrote it with you, but how did Troy end up on it?
Cole and I wrote I was in this room actually in lockdown. He lives not that far from me. We had to write it in 2020 lockdown and over Zoom. So it's about mateship. Like I said before, it's a guitar-driven country rock song, but at the end of the day, it's about having each other's back. And when I recorded it with my producer on the Gold Coast here, Jared Allen, I said to him, this is a real collaboration. So obviously the first choice asked Cole to be on the track. I thought, what other bros do I know? And I've worked with Troy Kemp for, I met him in Newcastle, I reckon. In fact, I met him when he was the first installment of McAllister came in 2013. And so I've been mates with him for years, and I just thought, look, I'll ask. Can he track the vocals from over there, which he could. So Troy's a great guy. He's a bro, a good mate, and we've done a lot of writing as well. So it was a collaboration between mates and bros, yeah.
And a COVID produced collaboration, in that there were so many things like that going on. Zoom co-writes, vocals being tracked in all sorts of places, and I guess it's artists have perhaps discovered new ways of making music. I don't know if it necessarily replaces being in the same room with other people, but it's certainly something that you can now do if you need to.
Yeah, it's a great backup plan, and I think it's happening, all around the world now. And I was speaking to someone about this the other day. It's almost like a big silver lining to a pretty negative situation for our industry the last few years. So it's opened up these possibilities. And I think it's moving forward. It's a positive, It's great to be in a room with someone writing, definitely. And I love co-writing. The album is all co-writes. I love it. I get quite enthusiastic about it. But If the next best option is this, well, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah. And the good thing is now you can have both, hopefully. And as you said, you're in Queensland. And so things were a little freer in Queensland earlier than they were in other states in terms of gigs. But you did release this album in the middle of last year, I think. And that's when other states, mine, New South Wales, Victoria, were in lockdown. It was interesting timing. But I imagine there was an element of thinking, well, if not now, then when? Because who can predict what's going to happen?
I wanted to do the album in 2020, and I was like, all right, I've got to do this thing. My first album, it's been a long time coming, Sophie, to be honest, but it was worth the wait. I'm really proud of it. And I thought, I'll stick to my guns. And maybe I was probably a little bit of wishful thinking. To my goal, when I get a goal, I kind of go, all right, I'm going to do this. My goal is to do a national tour, playing every state and territory. I booked the shows. The whole tour was planned out. Every state and territory, I ticked that goal box, and I was ready to go. And then we know what happened. I won't harp on that, but it was a little heartbreaking. I did get to Tasmania, but Queensland and Tasmania, that's it. So it was one of those things where I'd committed to the album anyway. I was like, no, I'm going to get this out there, and it'll be what it'll be. We're all in the same boat, all my mates and I. So in the music industry, so a little disappointing not to be able to tour it properly. I'm doing that the next few months, so I'm sort of trying to sort of make up for some lost time there. But in the world we live in, it's I guess for me, I was still really proud to release it and stick to that. Doesn't change the fact that the album is the album, and I'm really proud of the 12 songs on it. So yeah.
Because I know when I first spoke to you, I realised for the first time how many gigs you were playing at that time, which is pre-COVID. That was your bread and butter, and no doubt is again. But that's for someone like you who spent so many days on the road every year. It wasn't like you just did a tour here and there. That was, you were out, you were driving, you were getting all over the place. I imagine it has been an extremely tough couple of years.
It has, and it's been a big adjustment. A really big adjustment actually for me. I started in that COVID period. I kind of adapted, and I sort of did some teaching and whatnot, which has been great, which I'm doing a lot more of now, and it kind of complements the touring anyway, so it's good. But I went from a full-time musician to COVID. Lucky I had that as a backup, I suppose. I have a young family, and that was my only job. But it was a real adjustment. I just think, if I think about it, the last, what are we in? We're in the 20 cup. We're like over 2 years in now.
Yeah.
I know we're sort of turning a corner, but which is good, which is great, but we have a little way to go. You just got to have, the way I looked at it was, in the music, in doing what we do and what we've chosen to do, what I've chosen to do with my life, it was always going to be tough anyway. So it's not, you don't just walk in and have a successful music career. Everyone knows that. It's hard work. It's damn hard work. But I was always prepared to work hard. Like, that was the touring and the shows and all that kind of thing. So I really looked at it as, all right, well, here's another big bump in the road. This time it's universal. We just got to get on through somehow. And now they're on the other side. Another silver lining thing is, look at the music coming out, as you would hear. All the releases, if I speak about Aussie country, man, there is so many good songs. It's like these COVID songs. So you got to stick at it, and this is what I do. I don't know any other way. So it keeps trucking, really, to be honest.
And the reason I wanted to mention the amount you toured is because what I heard on that album and I wrote about it at the time was the result of your stagecraft. And because I sensed that in constructing the order of that album, you actually constructed it like a set list. Like, you had done it so the audience would go on this journey through various emotions and musical changes in tone. And so, because I was thinking, what's going on here? And I was like, it's a set list. I thought, and Will could only have done that because he's played so many sets. So was that actually an accurate interpretation of what was going on?
That's really interesting. And really interesting you picked that up. And if you're exactly right, really. Because I've released an EP and a bunch of singles, but I haven't done that body of work yet. And I was like, okay, Johnny, my producer, and the order was and I'm sure for all artists, obviously the order comes into the conversation at some point. and it's an emotional journey, I suppose. And yeah, it's a really good way to put it. It's like a set list of one of my shows. There's highs, there's kind of medium highs, and there's a lot like really lows, Dear Dad and Rare Piece of Earth, and then we go back up again and end it with a bang. So with Chasing Gators. So yeah, it's a good pickup. That's a good way to describe. I'm going to use that when I do the next album. I need to design a set list.
Well, because just as you said, you don't walk into a music career. You really don't walk into understanding how to put a set list together. And it is a really valuable skill, because it's one thing to say, oh, I'll just play the songs I know. But it's another thing to engage an audience as you're doing that, and keep doing it over 3 sets, if that's the gig you're playing, and keep doing it over years as you've been doing. So I'm wondering if that's something that you feel that you learn almost by osmosis, just sitting there and taking in how audiences are responding, or if it's something that consciously you've become aware of over the years, how to do that construction of a set list.
I did like hundreds, if not thousands, of solo shows in venues over the last 10 years, which I'm not really doing anymore because I'm doing sort of focusing on touring and festivals and that kind of thing. But throughout that time, I probably subconsciously absorbed it. Because you learn to know what it's like an apprenticeship. That's how I see it. Those 10 years in pubs and doing the thing was my apprenticeship, basically, as a performer, but as an entertainer as well, because you got to learn how to entertain, and you also have to learn how to create longevity vocally, and sort of know how to I guess mold yourself into a musician that can survive long periods of time, I suppose, doing lots of gigs. And it was probably the set list thing and the order. You make mistakes when you're learning too for years, and you go, oh, probably not the best song choice there. Maybe I brought that down too much there. So you go, okay, you learn from it. Next gig, and that's where the performance for me, the long slow burn, the hard work, that's where it's really valuable, because that puts me in good stead for many years to come. And not walking into it. Some people can do that maybe. Good luck to them, but I feel like it's that for me. I feel grateful I've had that kind of apprenticeship, like I said, to go, well, this is what works, that's what doesn't work. And you learn the hard way sometimes. That's how it is though. So probably subconsciously, to answer your question, you just kind of pick it up over time. Yeah.
And because you've played in so many different parts of Australia, do you find that audiences are different from state to state or from city to city?
Not so much. I mean, I suppose no. I mean, a lot of the East Coast stuff is similar. I'm playing in South Australia for the first time this weekend actually, and I've never been to South Australia, let alone play there. So I'm interested to see I can't wait. Actually, I'm really excited to see what the crowd's like there. And sometimes it depends on the gig. I've done a lot of events like BNSs and that kind of thing. It's a bit of a different crowd to a festival, but the thing about a country music crowd, Sophie, is that if they're into it, if they're into country music, they're going to be, and if you're doing a half decent job, which you like to think if you got booked you are, they're up for it, and it's a good time. And that's the other thing about country music, community and this collective. Yeah. Not just you as the artist, everyone, the people at the show, the fans and who love fans of country music, just like we are. It's just this kind of big family, Yeah. So generally everywhere, I've had pretty good experiences across the board with crowds. Yeah.
And you mentioned BNS balls. Well, I mean, I tend to think that would be a tough crowd, particularly as the night wears on.
Yeah. To be honest, I love playing BNSs. It is just rowdy, loud, messy, not me, the crowd, and it's so much fun. I did one up here a few weeks ago, and it's a lot of fun. You got to have a bit of a thick skin too for a BNS ball, but it's about entertainment value. That's what it's really about, and I love getting on stage and just sweating and letting rip, and that's that freedom, and that's what. After playing some more band shows, now they're coming back. I've missed that so much through the last 2 years, which we spoke about. So I think everyone has. So a BNS. So if you haven't, any people watching, if you haven't been to a BNS, you're in for it. Just go to one or two. You might get hooked, or you might go, oh, that wasn't for me. But it's a great experience, great Aussie experience.
And as you have been playing songs from the new album over the past few months, is there any one song in particular that the audiences respond to more than others?
Yeah, Dear Dad, definitely, because it's so raw, and I played that song at my hometown album launch a couple of months ago, and it was so raw. It actually started to rain when I played the song. It was quite incredible. So that's always been one that really sort of connects. Another song is one of the more of the ballads is Rare Piece of Earth. That's gone down really well. Haven't released it as a single, but I'm really, from a songwriting perspective, I love all the songs in the album, but that one feels really good playing it live.
Mm-hmm.
That's how if it feels good live, and you feel like you're connecting, especially at the shows where it's not like a BNS where it's rowdy. It's sort of a songwriting show, which I love as well. I like both sides of it. So those ballads are always nice for a connectivity sort of benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. Partly why I'm asking all these questions about your playing live is because it has been a couple of years without audiences seeing anything, and there may be a perception that, you just pick up your guitar and get on stage, but you talking about, vocally how you need to prepare, all the things, being an entertainer, all those things you need to have to get up and put on a show. That's something that you learn over time and skills you develop, and they are really significant, and they're hard won. And so I hope as audiences come back to shows that they do appreciate what they've been missing and get into. I think they are. What I saw at the Tamworth Country Music Festival was a whole lot of rapture for people being back. So, and you've probably seen that at your shows.
Rapture, that's a great word. That's a great word to describe it. It's just this, that's the thing, right? We as artists go, well, we're missing it, but everyone is, and that creates a connection too for people. The general public, live music creates a connection, for them, in whatever that is. It could be a song, or it could be an artist they see, or whatever. It's just it creates a feeling for them, and you take that away, which we basically have. Leaves a big hole. So I generally think that there's a really good vibe, I think, in general, the way the industry is picking back up again. And as you said, crowds are going, man, I've missed this, and they're actually quite supportive. They really are supportive. And Tamworth, although I was only there for a little bit, you could just tell there was this sort of, collegiality, sort of, we're in this together kind of thing. It's been so long. I think that's going to actually last a while, because we don't want to take that away again. We all know you don't know what it's like till it's gone, until you miss something. So it's a special feeling playing live again, not just for us, but for live music lovers.
And our levels of excitement are usually very, very high at festivals. And you've played so many festivals, I didn't even bother to count when I was looking at the bio, but you have a few coming up this year. So apart from other gigs, which festivals can people see you at?
So I'm, as I said earlier, I'm going to South Australia for the first time, playing in an event called the Kurtumerka Outback Ball. So I've never been to SA, but I've never been this part of it's in the Outback. It's in a place called Moree. I think I've said that right. Not far from the Birdsville track. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going back to South Australia in June for 500 miles of music. The lineup's awesome for that as well. And that's kind of weaving around Outback South Australia as well. So that's going to be some great new experiences. That's going to be awesome. A few local things coming up later in the year, which I haven't sort of announced yet. So a fair bit on the cards, a couple of BNSs as well. And yeah, like I said, the festival sort of in the second half of the year, which I just haven't announced, but I'm just hoping, I just hope it all happens. We're so ready, but Tamworth going ahead, what a great sort of sign for where we're heading, So anyway, I'm sort of the country, I'm going up to Darwin as well. Doing the Northern Territory part of the tour, which didn't happen last year. I had WA dates. I think we're allowed back in there now, so it'd be nice to explore WA as well. But there's plenty happening. It's nice to be back on the road.
So people can keep an eye on your social media and your website.
Yeah,
Details.
willday.com.au, and if anyone wants to grab a physical copy of the album, I put a little download card there as well, but you can grab on there, and Will Day Music on the socials. So yeah, jump across and give it a follow.
Well, Will, I hope you have a jam-packed year. let's put it that way.
Thank you so much. I forgot to mention, I'm doing an event up here next Monday, actually.
Okay.
So what it is, sorry, if you don't mind,
I don't know, go for it.
It's CMC Rocks is putting on this gig. And what they're doing is, so they're live streaming Luke Combs and Cody Johnson's sets from Stagecoach in the States. Right. So it's on our Monday, and we've got a public holiday in Queensland on Monday. So it's their Sunday in the States. They're streaming it. And then myself and Brooke Schubert, who I did a single with on the album with, are both playing live sets, like sort of in between them. So, and it made me think of, we were talking about streaming and Zooming and what we can do now. It's going to be awesome, have these American artists at this venue I'm playing at. There's a huge screen, so they'll be up there, and and then we'll be sort of playing live. It's going to be awesome. So, events like that, and CMC is happening later in the year, so it's coming back, but that's going to be really fun as well. I forgot to mention that one.
Well, it sounds like it's a diverse roster, and you're more than up for it because you are match fit and you have all that experience. So that is a benefit for the audience, because they know they're getting a great show. So Will, it's been fantastic to talk to you about your album and about your shows, and hope you have a fantastic year. Yeah,
thanks, Sophie. I always love our chats, and thank you for supporting independent artists like myself. Really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, I only do it if I like the music. So.
Okay. Well, cool.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.